Hey guys, I'm Stephanie and this is Steph Stove, and today I'm experiencing a wonderful okra bounty. I did get a half bushel of okra that was very fresh. It was picked this morning early from a local farm, Little Creek Farms here in Valdosta. So shout out to Little Creek Farms. Thank you very much. I enjoyed everything I've been doing with okra today. So one of the things I wanted to share with you is how to pickle okra, and it is super yummy. So if you like pickles, dill pickles, pickled okra is just right up there with it, and it is delish. As a matter of fact, the gentleman, when I picked the okra up this morning, he said, "Are you going to pickle it?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And I told him I'd give him a shout out because I did appreciate it. So it's beautiful okra that we have. So I've got my water heating up to get our jars in here so we can get those processed and get our brine going in just a minute and get ready to pickle us some okra. Here we go. Okay, as we get ready to pickle our okra, one thing that we want some smaller pods in here. And we're doing this because most of them I'll be doing in a pint jar, and I will be doing some of the smaller ones in a half pint later. But my general recipe is for a pint jar. So I want these about, I would say, no longer than 4 inches in length. And what I'm going to do is come up and I'm going to trim the little ends just at the top. And if you'll see when they are picked, they have this extra little piece here. And this is kind of a more woody piece. So I'm going to go in and take that out. I went ahead and finished these, and I washed these very well. Another thing I would say is wash these, and wash them again to be sure that there's no dirt or anything on them. They do have these little fuzzy parts on the sides that will grab hold of anything, and you definitely don't want that in your pickles. So if you're ever unsure when you're putting something up, just wash it again. I think, like I said, I did these about 4 times just to be sure, until everything was completely clear and there was no grit of any kind in the container. So again, we're just cutting off this extra little piece. Do not cut into the pod. We want that intact. So if you can see, I'm just cutting just a little bit with a paring knife just to get that extra little woodsy part out. So we've got these ready. So they'll be packed in the jars in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and put my jars. My water pot is boiling. So they have been washed and they're drying. So now I'm going to put them in there for them to sterilize and get nice and hot before we get ready to pickle these. All right, I do have 2 pots with water, and this water is not quite boiling, but I want it just very hot because, again, you never want to pour your brining liquid, which will be hot, into a cold jar. It will burst. So I'm going to go ahead and put my jars in here very carefully into the water because I want this to sterilize and heat thoroughly. You don't have to do them in something separate. You can do these in the pot that you're going to can them and process them in is perfectly fine. I do want that all the way down. Get that covered. That back end is fine. I'll just rotate these every few minutes to be sure that I have quite enough. Now in the back pot here, I do have another pot that is simmering and boiling. I do have my funnel in it for it to be nice and sterilized. And I have the rings for my jars here, as well as the lids. And when I say the lids, this is what I mean, the lids. These lids, I would not reuse these. Every time that you can something, you need new lids because there's a little seal around there. So you can reuse the rings, but not the lids. So make sure that you always get new lids whenever you're canning anything. All right, so after we got those things, and these will just kind of sit while we're getting our brining liquid and everything else prepared. Now we need to move over, and like I said, they do not have to come to a full boil, but they're almost at that boiling state, so it will keep them warm and get them sterilized. I would say probably about 8 or 10 minutes will be good. Okay, while our jars and rings and lids are sterilizing and these are heating up, we're going to start our brining liquid in this other pot. So in our brining liquid, I'm going to put in, this is 1.5 cups of just regular water. just straight. Mine is tap well water, so you can have that, or just water straight from the faucet is fine. And then we are going to add equal amounts, 1.5 cups, and this is distilled white vinegar. Make sure that it at least has an acidity point of 5%, because you want a quite a bit of acid in here. It's not quite 1.5. Actually, a little too much, so it's a little hair over back and forth. All right, and so we've got equal parts. 1.5 cups water, 1.5 cup vinegar. And what we are going to do, we're going to turn this on, kind of medium high. I don't want it quite to a boil yet, but I'm going to turn it on medium high first to raise the temperature up, and then I'm going to gradually bring it up slowly to the boiling point right before I get ready to pack my jars. So we're going to let this come up to temperature, and we'll be right back. Okay, my jars are nicely warmed, and my still a little bit, and my brining liquid has come to a low boil. So I'm going to, with tongs, and if you can see me, I'm just kind of grabbing the inside of the jar, and the liquid which is just water at this point that I have, I'm just very gently pouring it out with a firm grip on there. So you need a good pair of gripping tongs. I'm just going to put this on the extra cutting board here to the side. Now, we'll get a little closer so you can see. At this point, what we need to do, we need to go in and pack our jars. So we are going to pack these with the tops down, the little points up. So we are going to just start packing these. Kind of get different sizes in here. My jars are very warm, so I have to start moving them around to touch them. I have to do it with my tongs because I don't want to burn myself. Alright, let's do it like this so you can see. So again, we want the tops, which this is the little top end, and that's the point end. The point should be up. We'll want these completely in the jar. And it will probably take, I would say, especially the ones that aren't really big, I would probably do 12 to 14 per jar. And you want them somewhat full in here, so you want to get as many in as you can. And that's why I try to get a variety of the big ones and the little ones in there. All right, I'll show you really quickly with this one. Now what we're going to add to it, and then I'll talking and I'll fill the rest of them. We do want to fill these, like I said, we have our vinegar and water mixture that is still continuing to boil. Oh, it's still hot. And we do have to add some flavorings to these, because these are going to be more like, I would say like a dill pickle, but it's a dill okra. You know, us Southerners will pickle in just about anything. Which I would say, not all pickled things that I'm a fan of, but this one, big fan. Of course, I'm a big fan of okra. As you can tell, I bought 16 pounds of it this morning. But it's just something I like. Everybody has things they like, and that's okay. Some like it, because you know, if you're an okra fan, you are or you're not. There's not a like, I kind of like okra. I've never kind of met anybody that says, I kind of like it. It's either you like it or you don't. It's not an iffy thing. Get all of them in there. Let's see if I got another couple little ones. Yeah, we'll put those in there. All right. Maybe one more little one. Yeah. The little ones are good. And these are really good to put on a charcuterie board. After they're finished, it's really delicious. So to each one of these, I'm going to add 1 whole garlic clove, so you don't have to worry about a vampire coming at you. Big old clove of garlic in there. So 1 clove of garlic. Then you're going to add also, and some people use canning salt, and a lot of times I don't buy canning salt. I still use sea salt, which you can use as a great substitute for this. This is fine sea salt. and I'm going to use a teaspoon in each. So the measurement that I'm going through, I'm putting this in each jar. Just 1, 2. About time to refill this one. Getting a little low there. All right. The salt, the garlic. Now we also need a teaspoon of dill. You can use fresh, I just use dried for this. To me, it's just easier. If you don't want as much, don't use as much. It's kind of those things with, you know, most things with cooking smell like, well, I like more dill. Well, just have some more. It may be a little overpowering, but this is just a general recipe. And just like with anything cooking, use it as a guideline, adjust it to your personal preference. And then we also need some black peppercorns, and we're going to use whole ones for this. And I'm going to use 1/4 of a teaspoon in each jar. So it'll be a total of 3/4 if you're trying to do the recipe for that. And now let me get out very carefully my funnel so it's nice and clean. Into my funnel, I am going to ladle up. Actually, I'm going to put this in the water for just a minute. I'm going to ladle up, turn off my brine. Ooh, that funnel is very hot. And I'm going to ladle up my brining liquid into my jar. If you don't have a funnel, you could probably go in there and take, probably cut the bottom off a 2-liter bottle, make your own funnel. You could always do that too. And you want this filled up to, I would say, the bottom ring of it, or about 1/4 inch from the top. You want to be sure that all of them are covered. They will float a little bit. That's what they do. And if you find that you pack more, that you need more brining liquid, that's the same problem, just make some more. Actually, because mine's evaporated a little bit while we were sitting here talking, I need just a tad more. So just pour this now. All right, now we have all of it in here. I'm going to get just a plastic straw and poke these down because I want to be sure that they are all completely submerged. Get down there. Ooh, I can smell them. All right, and we're going to get our tops on there. We got 2 tops in this one. Be careful because they're always hot. Whew. Don't need to do that. Alright, now after we got our tops on there, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is not a sticky liquid, but still, because I did see that I splattered some on the side. You do want to go around the tops and make sure that you clean those off before you put the lids on. And then place your tops on. Make sure they're on there good. Get our rings. I'm actually going to need a little bit more brine for this one, so I'm holding that one out. And again, most of it is because we were talking, and because it's water and vinegar, it is going to start to evaporate. Put that down there. if that's the case, just add you a little bit more. No big deal. Now we're going to tighten these, so I'll go ahead and process these two while I'm getting the other one ready. We're going to tighten this, what I would call like a fingertip. You're not wanting to put, you know, huge grip on there at this point. You're just wanting to tighten it enough to close it. You're probably gonna need something, that's why I have the pot holder, because it's very hot. All right. Now, these I'm gonna go ahead and process, and then I'll add some more brining fluid like to this one here. But we are going to lower it into our pot and get our pot back to boiling. And we are gonna process these in just a minute. All right, now that we've got all of our jars packed, we do need to put them in a water bath to can them properly so they will be shelf stable. And so I do have my pot that's almost at the boiling point. And I'll pull you real close just for a minute so you can see. I do have at the bottom of my pot, if you can see that, it's just a little trivet. It's actually the trivet that goes to my Instapot. And I put it in there just so that my jars won't touch the bottom. You don't want the jars touching the bottom because one, they're glass. That extreme heat right there on the bottom could cause them to crack, and that's the last thing that you want. So what we're going to do is I'm going to lower these in here, and I'm going to use my Cannon tongs to do that. And we're going to lower these into our water very carefully because this water is extremely hot. Again, it's almost at the boiling point. And we are going to process these for about 10 minutes. Now, if when you load them up, you see that you don't have quite enough water, that's fine. This water that you had that you were using for your lids, that's a great water because it's already hot. You can take that and pour that, and that's what I'm going to do right on top, because I do want this about an inch above. Is what I wanted to completely cover them. So we're going to let these boil and process for 10 minutes, and then we're going to take them out. See you in 10. All right, it's been 10 minutes and our pickled okra has been processing. So now it's time to pull it out. If you don't have one of these little jar pullers, they're really handy. You can get them just about anywhere, but it makes it so much easier in trying to get these jars out. I'm just going to grip it around here on the top. Extra, and then move it here to the side. Same thing. Now we are brining these, not brining them, but we're processing these so that they can be shelf stable, because we're going to have these out. These are not going in the refrigerator until after they are opened. So what we want to do is just leave these here, and then in just about a minute or so we should start hearing that notorious pop. Is what we're looking for, just to ensure that our jars are completely sealed. Now they're not very tight at this point either, so we will let them cool for just a couple of minutes, and then I'll come back down and I'll tighten them down even more, because we just had those tightened to what I would call fingertip or finger tighten just with your hand, but we will need to tighten these down. Kind of waiting for that pop, hoping it's coming up any second. It should be, because it's ready. But these, you will not be able to eat these immediately because they're in the brine. And the okra, I've got a pot here just to show you. The okra pods are pretty, they're thick. So in order for this brine to penetrate in here and for them to truly pickle them like a pickle, it is going to take several weeks. So I would say at least 4 to 6 weeks it's going to be before that they are ready to eat. So it's not something that you'll be eating tomorrow when you make them. So just know that it'll be about 4 to 6 weeks. So put them in a cool, dark place. Just leave them there. If you want to turn them every so often and flip them over, that's perfectly fine too. But kind of excited, hoping we hear that pop. But anyway, go ahead and get you some pickled okra. So if you're a fan of pickles, pickle some okra. It's delicious. So I'm Stephanie. This has been Steph Stove. Give us a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button for more great content like this. And remember, Steph Stove, we're making memories one dish at a time. Have a great evening. Thanks for watching. Bye.